somewhere between 80 to 90% of people are heel strikers. They land on their heel, they roll over, they try to push off their toe, they land on their heel, they roll over, they try to push off their toe. It's a sequence. It's like a fast walk. It's like you're walking, you land on your heel, and you just turn that into a run, and you figure, I know how to walk, so I know how to run. Well, it also turns out that about 80 to 90% of people are injured every year from running, causing them to have to stop running for at least like 3 weeks. That's at least the latest research I read. So I was like, there's got to be some kind of connection here. Maybe it's not 100%, and maybe there are some heel strikers that are going to never get injured. I guess it depends on how fast you run, how much you run, all that kind of stuff like that. But I wanted to understand, what's the dynamics of running? Why would you run on your heel? Why would you not run on your heel? What's the best way to do it? So I really got curious, and I had studied this about 20 years ago, and ever since then I was like, everybody on the planet is going to eventually be running correctly because it doesn't make sense to do it any other way. And so I started practicing it, and I started teaching it. And when I start working with young kids especially, because adults, I hate to break it to you, but we have these bad habits that are really hard to break, and we're really stubborn. And if we're going to break them, we have to be very, very consistent. You can, because I did, but it took me maybe about 6 months to get anywhere decent at what I'm about to teach you guys. Doesn't mean that it's going to take you 6 months, but it's going to take some time. So I don't want the expectations to be false, like you're going to get out of here today and you're going to be perfect at running and you're going to be able to go just do all these things you want to do. You have to practice. You have to practice the moves. What I'm going to teach you today is very simple. It's nothing complex. It's simple. But it does take time to practice and reestablish habits. Okay, so I really got into the understanding of the mechanics of why would you run one way versus another, and then what are all the professional athletes doing? It just so happens that the majority of professional athletes, the high majority, are all running more similar to the way this girl was that I was trying to help. They're all running much more similar to staying tall, shoulders back, nice good posture, and they're running more similar to this style versus running this way, which is probably the way most of you guys run, okay? And you probably don't even know it. Because that's the way I ran for 21 years of my life. I ran that way, or a version of like that. So I said, okay, why would you not want to do that? And why would you want to do more of this? And so when you understand the mechanics of it and the physics of it, it starts making sense. Because I'm going to tell you right now, you will never make the shift. It's way too complicated to make the shift from being a heel striker to being a midfoot runner, unless you understand the principles and understand the physics of it, because it's too complicated. You won't spend the time to do it, and you'll be like, I can't do this. But when you understand the physics of it and understand the benefits of it long-term and speed and happiness of running and injury prevention, all that stuff, then you'll make the determination and dedication to say, okay, I'm ready to commit, I'm ready to do it. Perfect situation is after this clinic, you stop running for fitness and you start running for technique. Which means it's going to be shorter, it's going to be less time, it's going to be a lot of patience, it's going to be drills, and you practice that stuff for probably weeks before you actually go for a run, because you have to retrain your body to do it the right way. Okay? That's perfect situation. Now, some of you might have signed up for this because you're like, I got a half marathon next weekend, I'm going to learn how to do this right. I get it, okay? I'm not going to try to say you should stop running and you should not do that. It's just that there's no way you can translate what I'm about to do into your race if you have it next week, or even in a month, or even in 2 months. It's going to take some time, okay? So let's get into the meat of it, because this is the nuts and bolts. This is the guts. If you don't understand what I'm about to say and it doesn't make sense to you, then this workshop is not going to mean very much for you. Okay, so the key to running is we want to try to, like, you're going to work no matter what, but we want to try to maximize our work towards forward progress. So why would somebody land more midfoot versus heel strike? So when you do heel strike, you just have, it's physics, I'm not making it up. You have to land with your foot out in front of your body if you heel strike. So you must be landing with your foot out in front of your body. You can't land underneath your body. I mean, you should try it. Land on your heels and try to move forward. You can't land on your heels underneath your body and go forward. You have got to land in front of your body. So it has to be a reach, and it has to be get out in front. You might say, well, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do, right? Well, if you think about the way gravity is, gravity's pushing you down, you're moving forward, so you're basically putting your foot in the most resistant spot you can. I'm coming down and I'm braking and I'm rolling over, I'm coming down and I'm braking and I'm rolling over. You might not feel the brake because it feels more like a roll to you, but every time you land your foot in front of your body, you're producing a braking force to some degree. Okay? Now there's some styles of running. Some people do this like vacuum style running where they're like, you know, and they keep their legs really low and you might not feel so much, and some people will get more of a Okay, but it's all still out in front. The harder you go, the more you push, the more that leg's out in front, and the more intense you go, the more you run the risk of injury. Now why? Your heel is not meant to land on. We have these cushiony shoes, which allows us to do it because we don't feel the immediate pain. But if you took your shoe off and started running and you landed on your heel, I think we would all agree that that doesn't feel very good. So the connection you got to make is like, well, if that doesn't feel good with my bare feet, then should I be doing it with a cushion on there? And the thing I came up with says, no, we shouldn't, because we're really designed to be running in barefoot. These shoes are a great invention. I love shoes, and I'm not going to run without shoes. I'm not advocating going out running without shoes. I'm just saying that the shoes are not going to solve the problem. They might get rid of a couple of the minor aches and pains that you're having, but they're not going to solve the problem of efficiency. I would rather have somebody running cowboy boots than somebody running in the top-notch $170 shoes that runs incorrectly. I'd rather have somebody running cowboy boots that runs correctly, because they're going to be able to last a lot longer. Okay, so running barefoot can actually help to develop the muscles in the feet and develop the right stride, not perfectly, but you just basically eliminate the chance of doing this because you won't do it anymore. So you have to start landing more kind of in a cushiony area. You have to land in something that's going to absorb the energy more than something that's going to be like a hard bang. So that's just not the only thing though. It's not the heel. The heel is going to land. Look at my ankle. My ankle does not have much flexibility at all. It doesn't have the ability to contract and relax. It doesn't have the ability to spring. So if I land like this, it doesn't have that ability. If I'm here, look at this. Like if you were just to jump up and down, which we'll do some of these drills, if you were to go up and down, I don't have to tell anybody here. Nobody's going to land on their heels. Nobody is going to go like this and land on your heels. You're all going to be on your midfoot, and it's just going to seem natural to you. Okay, so I know that's not running, but we have to take that same feeling and we have to translate that into running, because that's the natural way that we would be running if we're here. Okay, that's the natural way that we would be landing, because every time you leave the ground, you have more force. The higher you get up, the more force you have coming down into the ground. So again, the faster you are, the higher you get off the ground, the more impact you have, and the more this is going to really cause some problems. Okay, so then it keeps going up. My ankle, my heel, my ankle, my knee does not give me the ability to flex either. It doesn't give the ability to use my knee the right way, because it's more of a rigid stiffness, and then it follows my hip. My hip's a rigid stiffness. Again, if I'm here, look at this. My knees are flexing, my ankles are flexing, my hips are flexing. I have 3 joints in my favor versus no joints. Okay? There's no joint there in my favor, and now keeps working up the chain, because I used to get back pain, neck pain, all kinds of stuff from running. So if I land on my heel, something has to be going forward in order for me to get forward, right? Because I can't stay tall, back straight. I can't do it if I'm landing on my heel. Okay, so because my heel goes forward. If I go this way, I'll just simply stop because I can't go forward. So when you're hinging over like this, because that's the only way you can run if you land on your heels, now your back is taking a big load, and the reality is nobody really lands like this. They round their back, they compress in, and they do this, and their shoulders are rotated forward. So this is typically what a runner will look like. I mean, I probably exaggerated, and I know some people have different styles, but this is the general concepts of most of the way people are running, is they're landing on their heels, and they look something like that. I know it's an exaggeration, but they're going like this, and they're landing like this. So their back is curved and rounded, their neck is up, extended, their heel is landing here. Yeah, you have everything going against you. This is 80 to 90% of runners. And they go out there and they think they're doing something great for them because they're getting exercise. And I love the idea of them getting exercise, and that's why I want to help them get better exercise, because that's just not a sustainable future for running. They're going to go to the doctor, and the doctor is going to say, you shouldn't run, running's bad for you. And I 100% agree if you're doing it that way. If you're doing it the way I'm going to tell you, and you train properly, then you can run, most likely, unless you have something I don't know about, so that you can sustain running and you can make it work for you. And it actually becomes a lot of fun because you have more of a system of how to run versus I'm just going to go run based on how I feel. Okay, so it really works up the chain, and you get all kinds of problems. I mean, I know some of you guys might be suffering from problems when it comes to particulars like IT band syndrome or like this thing. Whenever you land with a straight leg, this IT band, this TFL IT band, it crosses over this tubercle here. So if I land with a straight leg or straighter, it has to kind of ratchet over that tubercle, which is again another reason why we don't land on our heel. We want to be midfoot. We want to be landing with our knees bent. We never land with a straight leg or even close to straight, because that's going to irritate the heck out of that IT band and cause a lot of problems. Shin splints happen a lot in people. Why do they get shin splints? Because you're landing on your heel, your toe is trying to stay up, and I'm trying to hold my toe. This muscle right here, this tibialis anterior, is working really hard to hold it up, and it ends up going down harder, and it's like holding onto a muscle when you're trying to pull it down. So that gets irritated over and over, and if that's excessive over a long period of time, you start fraying the muscle away from the bone, and it starts getting really irritated. A lot of people don't actually have the diagnosed shin splint, they just have pain in their front leg because that muscle is overworking. So it's not necessarily like an irreversible situation, it's just, that's what you would typically call a shin splint. Hip pain, back pain, all kinds of stuff. When you start rotating your hips too much, or you start twisting and doing a lot of this stuff, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in running, especially when you're being inefficient. Now let's